He stepped onto the field, and the world stopped breathing. No explosions, no flashy tricks. Just Bad Bunny, standing in silence for 2 seconds that felt like an eternity. Then, boom, the beat dropped, and with it, so did history. No English, no compromise. Just unapologetic culture, blasting through 100 million screens in pure, raw Spanish. And in that moment, everything changed. Not just for Puerto Rico, not just for Latin America, not just for music, but for the entire identity of what the Super Bowl halftime show even is. People were expecting a performance. What they got was a revolution. The stadium shook as Bad Bunny turned the field into a Caribbean street parade. Not a single lyric pandered to Middle America. No translation, no filter. He didn't adapt to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl adapted to him. The visuals, deep Puerto Rican symbolism. The dancers, dressed in Afro-Caribbean heritage pieces. The energy, undeniable, unapologetic, unforgettable. Then came the moment. He stood at center stage, raised a fist, and the screens behind him lit up with 3 words that sent a chill down every spine. Aquí estamos todos. We're all here. And in that second, generations of silence got obliterated. This wasn't just about a performance. It was about erasure being reversed. About Latin kids finally seeing themselves at the center of American pop culture's biggest platform. And the world didn't know what hit them. This wasn't for everyone. It wasn't meant to be. It was for the people who've never been given the mic before. And now that Bad Bunny has held it, he may never give it back. Because this wasn't just music. This was history. And once you hear what happened behind the scenes, you'll understand why nothing will ever be the same again. Before the lights, before the cameras, before the stage even rose from the Super Bowl field, there was a storm quietly building. Not the kind with lightning or thunder, the kind with purpose, the kind with years of silence behind it, the kind with one man, born in Vega Baja, Puerto Rico, carrying an entire language, an entire culture, and an entire generation on his back. Because before he became the biggest artist in the world, Bad Bunny was just Benito, a grocery bagger, a SoundCloud dreamer, a kid who knew his music didn't fit the mold, and he refused to shrink himself just to fit in. And that same refusal, that same radical self-belief, is exactly what led him to this moment, standing on the Super Bowl stage, rewriting everything. But make no mistake, this wasn't handed to him. Bad Bunny didn't just rise to the top, he fought his way there, in an industry that pushed Spanish-language artists to the side, on platforms that buried Latin trap under algorithmic silence. He wasn't supposed to break into America's charts. He wasn't supposed to headline Coachella. And he definitely wasn't supposed to take over the NFL's most watched event. But that's exactly what he did. Let's rewind. The NFL has always been careful, safe, mainstream. For decades, it has leaned into halftime shows that pleased advertisers, comforted suburban households, and avoided anything remotely uncomfortable. Even when they dipped into hip-hop or R&B, it was always sanded down, polished, made presentable. And then there's Bad Bunny, a man who refused to censor himself, who refused to switch to English, who dropped entire albums using slang so local, even some Spanish speakers had to Google the lyrics. And still, he became the most streamed artist on the planet. Not by accident, by authenticity. So when rumors began swirling that Bad Bunny was tapped for Super Bowl 60's halftime show, people thought it was a joke. The NFL? Letting a Puerto Rican reggaeton artist, who talks about colonization, queer visibility, and deconstructing masculinity, headline their sacred halftime? But it wasn't a joke. It was real. And from the moment it was confirmed, the internet exploded. Fans were ecstatic. The Latin community was stunned. But a small, very loud group of critics? Furious. He doesn't even sing in English. He's too political. He's not American enough. Those were the headlines, the comments, and the backhanded jabs from certain networks. But Bad Bunny never blinked. In interviews leading up to the show, he said almost nothing. No spoilers, no rehearsals posted, no teasers, just one cryptic message. This one is not for TV. This one's for the culture. And when game day came, he meant it. But to truly grasp what happened in those 13 minutes, you have to understand the bigger picture. This wasn't just a concert. This was a statement. Decades in the making. For too long, the Latin community, especially Afro-Latinos and Caribbean voices, have been relegated to secondary status in US media. Background dancers, featured guests, supporting characters, rarely center stage. And if they were invited in, they were asked to assimilate, to become more palatable for mainstream comfort. But Bad Bunny never did that. From day one, he challenged it, wearing drag in music videos, painting his nails, calling out corrupt politicians in Puerto Rico, demanding justice for trans women on live TV, refusing to switch languages just to make a hit in America. All while topping the global charts again and again and again. So when he walked into that stadium, wearing traditional Puerto Rican colors stitched into a modern high-fashion fit with bomba drums behind him and hundreds of Latin dancers at his back, it wasn't just about putting on a good show. It was about putting his people on the global stage. Every song he chose for the set list wasn't random. They were messages. El Apagón? A track about how the island's power keeps getting shut off, both literally and politically. Titi Me Preguntó? A song about love, identity, and rejecting toxic expectations of masculinity. Yo Perreo Sola? The track that became a global anthem for women dancing alone, for themselves, without needing men, and whose original video featured Bad Bunny in full drag to make the point crystal clear. And he performed them all, loud, proud, and completely in Spanish. No subtitles, no explanation, just presence. And the moment that made every Latin viewer watching choke up? The end of his final track. When the beat faded, the screen went dark, and only one phrase echoed across the stadium speakers. Lo hicimos, abuela. We did it, Grandma. That line wasn't for the cameras, wasn't for the press. It was for every abuela who never saw herself on TV. For every Spanish-speaking mother who watched their children grow up in a world that told them their accent wasn't professional. For every kid in a US classroom who was told to speak English only. For every fan who dreamed of this moment but never thought they'd live to see it. And suddenly, this wasn't about music anymore. It was about healing, about recognition, about being seen. The NFL didn't just put on a halftime show. They gave the mic to a man who used it to make history. And millions of people will never forget what they felt in that moment. But behind the cheers and tears, behind the trending hashtags and TikTok duets, there was a growing tension, a political undercurrent, a storm waiting to break. Because what Bad Bunny just didn't sit well with everyone. And what happened the moment he stepped off that stage will shock you. He walked off that field like a king. The crowd was roaring. Social media was exploding. Millions were still wiping tears from their eyes, and not realizing that while the final beat of Bad Bunny's history-making performance echoed through the stadium, a storm was already brewing backstage. Because while the internet was celebrating, while kids from the Bronx to San Juan were dancing in their living rooms, someone in a boardroom was fuming. It started with a phone call, a very quiet, very fast call from an NFL executive to a major halftime show sponsor. And the words spoken on that call would flip the entire tone of the night upside down. This wasn't what we agreed to. Wait, what? That's right. Behind the curtain, a handful of executives were furious. Furious that Bad Bunny went off script. Furious that no English was spoken. furious that political symbols made it onto the screen. Furious that his final message, "Lo hicimos abuela," wasn't understandable to all audiences. But what they didn't realize? It wasn't for all audiences. It was for his people. Still, to the NFL's image handlers and sponsor reps, that didn't matter. They saw headlines forming before they even hit publish. They saw Fox News segments, angry tweets, political outrage. And they were right. Because within 20 minutes of the show ending, the backlash began. A viral post from a conservative commentator went live with the headline, "The Super Bowl halftime show just became a Spanish-speaking political stunt, not American entertainment." Thousands of replies, hundreds of retweets. And then, within minutes, cable news picked it up. One anchor claimed the show alienated real Americans. Another said it was a slap in the face to the English-speaking viewers who fund the game. And the backlash only grew louder. On talk radio, one caller said, "I didn't tune in to get a lesson in Puerto Rican independence. I tuned in to see a show. What was that?" Then came the sponsors. An unnamed insider leaked to a popular sports outlet that at least 2 major sponsors of the halftime show were considering pulling future ad dollars. Their reason? Political messaging disguised as entertainment. And then, the twist. A leaked internal email, allegedly from the Super Bowl halftime production committee, surfaced online. In it, a senior executive warned, "This is not the direction we expected. There will be consequences." Consequences? For what? Singing in Spanish? For representing his community? The internet wasn't having it. Fans fought back. Hard. One viral post read, "Bad Bunny just gave the most honest halftime show we've seen in years, and y'all mad it wasn't in English? Grow up." Another, "He didn't make it political. Y'all made it political because you weren't centered for once." And just like that, what was supposed to be a performance became a national debate. But the damage was done. Behind the scenes, the NFL reportedly reached out to Bad Bunny's team. Not with congratulations, not with gratitude, but with concerns. An anonymous source close to the artist claimed, they were livid. They wanted to know why certain visuals were included, why certain phrases were used. They tried to say he violated creative direction, but they gave him full control. That was the deal. So what really happened? According to insiders, Bad Bunny submitted his full performance plan weeks in advance. Every camera shot, every lyric, every transition. It was all there, approved, signed off. But what they didn't expect was for him to lean into it that hard, to go that unapologetic, to make every second feel like a protest, a parade, and a prayer all at once. They wanted flavor. He gave them truth. And now, certain forces wanted to erase it. But it wasn't just backlash from executives and pundits. The conflict began to seep into the music industry too. Sources claim that certain high-level gatekeepers, think Grammy board members, top festival organizers, began second-guessing their Bad Bunny associations. Why? Because if you let someone like him headline without limits, they might just start telling the truth on your platform too. One email, I'd reportedly leaked from a music exec said, "We love Bad Bunny, but if he's going to make every appearance political, it puts us in a tough spot." This infuriated fans. Political? He performed songs about joy, identity, and language. That's not political. That's personal. But when you're a global superstar who refuses to play by mainstream rules, your very existence becomes an act of rebellion. And this is the twist no one saw coming. In the middle of all the noise, Bad Bunny went dark. No tweets, no lives, no interviews, not even a thank you post. Instead, he wiped his entire Instagram feed. Every post, every video, every trace of the Super Bowl song, gone. Fans were confused, scared. Some thought he was protesting. Others thought he was hiding. But those close to him said something else. He wasn't mad. He was watching. And watching how the world reacted to his truth. Watching who stood up. watching who stayed silent, watching which platforms tried to capitalize on the performance, while distancing themselves from the message. And that silence spoke louder than any lyric. Because what Bad Bunny did at the Super Bowl wasn't a gimmick. It wasn't a stunt. It was sacrifice. He knew what would come. The backlash, the closed doors, the shady calls from execs, the accusations. But he did it anyway, because he knew somebody had to be first. And now, the battle for who controls the Super Bowl stage, the message, the culture, the future, has officially begun. And Bad Bunny, he's no longer playing by the industry's rules. He's writing his own. Here comes the... While the headlines tried to spin it and execs scrambled behind the scenes, the real reaction, the one nobody could control, came straight from the fans. Not the critics, not the blogs, not the corporate PR teams trying to clean things up, but the millions of people who sat in their homes, their bars, their community centers, and felt something that hadn't been felt during a Super Bowl halftime show in decades. Representation. And when those fans realized that the industry was already trying to sanitize the moment, to bury the performance under controversy and damage control, they fought back with everything. Within 48 hours, hashtags like hashtag Bad Bunny made history, hashtag Nuestro Halftime, and hashtag Lo Hicimos Abuela were trending worldwide. TikTok exploded with reaction videos, not just of the performance itself, but of Latino families crying as they watched, grandmothers sobbing, children dancing, entire neighborhoods erupting in cheers. One video that hit 22 million views in a single day showed a 74-year-old woman in East LA, clutching her chest as Bad Bunny performed El Apagón, whispering, "He did this for us." But while the culture was celebrating, corporate America wasn't. Behind closed doors, a bombshell leak hit the press, and it changed everything. A document, allegedly from one of the Super Bowl's major sponsors, revealed a secret clause in their halftime show agreement. And the clause stated that the performer must maintain cultural neutrality, avoid overt political messaging, and ensure their show is inclusive of the general American demographic. Let's break that down. Cultural neutrality? Translation? Don't center your culture too much. Over's political messaging? Translation: don't remind us Puerto Rico still doesn't have full voting rights. And inclusive of the general American demographic? Translation: speak English. Stay safe. Be digestible. Bad Bunny violated every line, and he did it on purpose. When the document leaked, fan outrage turned into organized resistance. One grassroots movement called Team Abuela launched a campaign to contact every Super Bowl sponsor directly, demanding answers. Thousands began boycotting the brands accused of silencing Bad Bunny's moment. The hashtag We Speak Spanish Too became a rallying cry, seen on posters, shirts, Twitter banners, and even projected on buildings in Times Square, Miami, and San Juan. Then came the real twist. A top Super Bowl sponsor, who had featured their brand all over the event, quietly pulled their future NFL ad campaign. No statement, no press release, just a sudden shift in their media plan. Industry insiders caught it and started connecting the dots. One reporter tweeted, "Bad Bunny's halftime show made so many people feel seen and made the wrong people feel uncomfortable. This is what disruption looks like." But while the sponsorship tension built, Bad Bunny made his next move. And it wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of clapping back, going live, or tweeting a paragraph of Spanish defiance, he did something far more powerful. That he announced a surprise drop. A short film titled Silencio, posted only on his website, nowhere else. No previews, no trailers. And the moment it went live, the internet collapsed. The 9-minute video opens with a young boy wearing a Puerto Rican flag cape, walking through an empty stadium. The seats are silent, the field dark. As he reaches the 50-yard line, he finds a microphone sitting alone, He picks it up, and the screen fades to black. Then comes Bad Bunny's voice, in soft Spanish. They wanted a show. We gave them a story. They wanted a song. We gave them a voice. They wanted silence. So we gave them memory. Boom. The message was clear. They can erase the footage, scrub the media, pressure the sponsors, but they can't undo what was felt. They can't erase what the people lived through. Because once history is made, it can't be undone. The short film ends with real clips of Latino families watching the Super Bowl halftime show. Real reactions, real tears, real pride. And then, in the final second, the screen cuts to one line. Super Bowl 2026. We were here. Fans flooded the site. They crashed the server. They re-uploaded it everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Even YouTube channels in Korea, Brazil, and France were uploading translated versions of the clip. Meanwhile, the NFL? Silent. No response, no retweet, no acknowledgement. Their official halftime show recap? Edited, cropped, sanitized. Gone was the full El Apagon sequence. Gone was the Puerto Rican flag overlay. Gone was the Lo hicimos abuela moment. They posted a 2-minute version, and the fans weren't having it. Now thousands began flooding the NFL's Instagram with one phrase over and over. Where's the full show? Say his name. We speak Spanish too. And now a new storm is brewing, because streaming services are fighting for rights to license the uncut version of Bad Bunny's halftime performance. Word is, Netflix, Max, and even Amazon Prime are in bidding wars to host a mini docuseries that will include never-before-seen rehearsal footage, interviews, and the full 13-minute unedited show. Meanwhile, Bad Bunny's streams, skyrocketing, his Spotify monthly listeners, surpassed 90 million. His Super Bowl tracks, dominating every chart. His name, cemented in every headline, every debate, and every future halftime conversation. Because what he did wasn't just a show, it was a shift. He didn't just perform, he protested. He didn't just dance, he declared. And the system is still trying to recover from it. Why Bad Bunny just changed history forever at the Super Bowl. The performance was over. The field was cleared. The lights dimmed. But the world was still buzzing. What Bad Bunny did in those 13 minutes wasn't just felt. It was echoing across every screen, every feed, every living room, every news desk. You couldn't scroll without seeing it. You couldn't turn on the TV without hearing about it. And whether people loved it, hated it, or didn't even understand it, everyone was talking about it. Because the reactions came fast, and they came from everywhere. Let's start with the celebrities. Jennifer Lopez, who once faced criticism for sharing the halftime stage with Shakira, posted a single word on her IG story during Bad Bunny's final song. Poderoso. Powerful. Cardi B reposted a clip from the performance with the caption, "They can't erase what's already in motion. Benito did that." Shakira, who headlined the halftime show in 2020, tweeted in Spanish, "Hoy millones se sintieron vistos." Today, millions felt seen. Even Zendaya, known for keeping things low-key, posted 3 fire emojis under a TikTok clip showing Bad Bunny's Yo Perreo Sola performance with the dancers in traditional Afro-Caribbean dress. But it wasn't just artists. Politicians started weighing in. And that's when things got messy. A Republican senator from Texas tweeted, "We just witnessed the most anti-American halftime show in years. The NFL needs to remember who their audience is." In response, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fired back, "Bad Bunny's audience is America, all of it, not just the version that makes you comfortable." Boom. Retweeted over 200,000 times. The cultural debate just turned political. Meanwhile, activists and educators were using the moment to highlight just how rare it is to see any major national broadcast feature a non-English, non-whitewashed artist at the center of it all. One sociology professor went viral after posting, "We tell children representation matters. Then when it happens, we call it too political." Bad Bunny didn't make a statement. He just existed. And that was enough to shake the system. Across Latin America, the reactions were pure pride. Street parties in Puerto Rico, fireworks in San Juan, murals popping up in the Dominican Republic with the words, "El primero en no pedir permiso," the first to not ask for permission. In Mexico City, a group of students projected the full performance on a campus building, chanting, "Si se pudo," as the beat from Titi Me Preguntó rattled through the courtyard. And on TikTok, it became a movement. Latina moms filmed their reactions, crying as they watched their kids sing along in Spanish. Abuelas danced in their kitchens. Young creators made split-screen videos reacting in real time, gasping when Bad Bunny raised his fist or shouted out, "Lo hicimos, abuela." And then came the backlash. Because of course, not everyone celebrated. Uncertain news outlets referred to the performance as alienating, confusing, and too foreign for football. One anchor said, "It was more like a protest concert than a halftime show." But that's exactly why it mattered. Because for once, the halftime show wasn't designed for the same safe, sanitized audience it always has been. It was designed for the ones who've always watched from the sidelines, never truly centered, never fully embraced. And now, they were front and center. Latin music blogs celebrated it as a breakthrough. Fashion critics praised the styling as a bold nod to Afro-Caribbean history. Cultural analysts called it the Beyoncé moment for Spanish-language artists. But the most powerful reactions came from the people. One fan tweeted, "I'm 27. I've watched every Super Bowl. But this is the first time I saw someone who looked like my brother up there, who sounded like my mom, who didn't water himself down to be accepted. I cried. Bad Bunny, thank you." Another posted, "They're mad because we didn't translate ourselves. We showed up as we are, loud, proud, Spanish-speaking, and we're not going anywhere." Comments flooded Instagram and Twitter. That wasn't just a show. That was a mirror. That wasn't just a beat. That was a heartbeat. This is our moment, and they'll never take it back. Even former NFL players spoke up. One Latino player, now retired, posted a video with tears in his eyes. "I played in this league for 10 years. I never saw my culture on that field like I saw tonight. I never felt more proud." In music circles, executives are already calling it a shift in the industry. Record labels are rethinking how they market Spanish-language artists. Streaming platforms are updating their homepage banners. Tour promoters are now planning bilingual shows, not just Latin nights. Bad Bunny didn't just open the door. He kicked it off the hinges. And while the NFL remains strategically silent, refusing to comment on the backlash or the performance's editing, one thing is clear. They can't control the narrative anymore. Because the world saw it, felt it, and remembered it. And now, they're demanding more. Why Bad Bunny just changed history forever at the Super Bowl. Everyone thought it was over. The show aired. The stage was torn down. The outrage flared, then burned out. The headlines moved on. But behind the scenes, something was still boiling. Because right as the world started to breathe again, thinking the drama had peaked, a leaked letter surfaced. A private, internal NFL document that was never supposed to see the light of day. One email, buried inside a long chain of executive memos. And it was signed with a name the public knows well. A top-ranking official inside the NFL's halftime production division. The subject line? Contingency plan. Artist cancellation. Wait, cancellation? The email was dated just 8 days before the Super Bowl. And what it revealed? We'll shake you. According to the contents, the NFL considered pulling Bad Bunny from the halftime show just 1 week before he was set to take the stage. Not because of health issues, not because of scheduling, But because they were reportedly concerned about cultural emphasis, language barriers, and increasing political tension. The language in the letter is cold, surgical, corporate. Should artists refuse adjustments to setlist and language selection, consider immediate replacement with alternate performer from approved roster. They had a backup, another artist on standby, in case Bad Bunny wouldn't conform, wouldn't bend, wouldn't shrink. And guess what? He didn't. Sources close to the production now claim that when the NFL requested changes, removing certain songs, replacing Spanish verses with English, shortening the Bomba segment, Bad Bunny flat out refused. One insider says he replied with just 6 words. "If I'm not whole, I'm not showing." And that was the final standoff. The NFL blinked first. They knew the blowback of canceling the most streamed artist on Earth would be nuclear. So they let him proceed, but made plans to edit the performance before it ever aired on digital replays. And now that the truth is out, the internet is seething. Fans are demanding full transparency. Celebrities are reposting the leaked letter. Latin orgs are writing open statements. Even music rights groups are getting involved, investigating whether Bad Bunny's contract was violated by post-show editing. And while chaos unfolds, Bad Bunny finally breaks his silence. At a surprise pop-up in Miami, no press, no promo, he walked on stage wearing a hoodie that simply read, "Censurado," censored. The crowd went insane. No intro, no band, just him and a mic. He said, "They tried to mute us, but we're the beat now. They tried to erase us, but we're written into history. This isn't just about music. This is about never asking for permission again." He then dropped the mic and walked off stage. The clip? Viral in minutes. But wait, there's more. In the crowd that night, a famous director, cameras rolling, whispered reports say that a documentary is already in production, documenting the entire Super Bowl battle, from pre-show meetings to last-minute legal calls to the cultural fallout. It's tentatively titled, "Unfiltered: The Halftime They Tried to Silence." Streaming platforms are reportedly fighting over it as we speak. And now, the final bombshell. A petition has launched with over 2 million signatures demanding that the NFL release the full, uncut 13-minute performance in its original form. No edits, no crops, no sanitization. The demand is simple. If you're going to invite us to the stage, don't mute us when we get there. And what happens next might change the NFL forever. Because they can ignore the hashtags, they can ignore the outrage. But what they can't ignore is the fact that history has already been made. Bad Bunny stepped on that stage with nothing but rhythm, roots, and resistance in his chest, and whether they were ready or not, he flipped the Super Bowl on its head. And now, every artist that comes after will walk through the door he kicked down. But the question that's haunting every executive right now? What happens if he does it again? So now it's your turn. Was this just a halftime show? Or was it a cultural reset? Was Bad Bunny out of line? Or finally speaking for the millions who've been ignored? Did the NFL take a risk by letting him perform? Or expose their own fear of true representation? Because what happened at the Super Bowl wasn't just a performance. It was a mirror. It showed us who we are, what we value, who we center, and who we silence. And now, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below right now. Should the uncut performance be released to the public? Was Bad Bunny wrong to reject the NFL's requested edits? Or was he right to stand his ground? And most importantly, do you think the NFL will ever truly embrace multicultural voices without censorship? We're watching every comment, every opinion, and we'll be highlighting the boldest takes in our next episode. So don't hold back. Smash that like if you believe artists should never be muted. Hit subscribe if you're here for the moments that actually mean something. Turn on notifications because this story is far from over. There's already buzz about Bad Bunny's next move. And let's just say, if you thought the Super Bowl was big, what he's planning next might just change the entire music industry. You won't want to miss what's coming. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a new era. One where we don't ask to be invited in. We take the mic, and we don't let go.